Hey, Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over the little bit of a pump on the crypto charts and also the pretty significant pullback on Bitcoin that does seem to have completed a measured move that I'll show you just briefly. As you can see in the stock market, we did have quite a profit-taking day. Hopefully, the market doesn't just turn around and collapse. That would be disastrous, likely for all markets, but we shall see. And of course, just for a little bit of truth in advertising, here's what I had to say last episode. In terms of the day, the day is still looking pretty good, except for that oppressive 20 simple moving average that we keep butting our head on. Sort of like we were butting our head on the 9 over here on the daily. And then that eventually took us down. If we just keep butting our head on this 20 too many times, it's just going to take us down again. And that could be that scary check back that I was talking about. But you have to remember, just because we bump our head on it and we have a check back, you have to understand that this is a bullish cross, right? This a fast moving EMA is crossing over the slow moving SMA, right? Same thing happened here. And look what happened. Yeah, we got dumped down, but eventually we got pulled back up. Yes, we could be getting dumped down, but we have another pair of EMAs crossing bullishly. And so that does suggest to me that we're starting to work our way up as these little spaghetti strings, right, start crossing over bullish, whereas previously they all started very bearish. I hope this episode made sense to you. Guys, thank you so much for being subscribers and following along. Okay, guys, so I think you can understand what I was saying is that we were likely to have one of these Alpha 9 knockouts in this area because of the steep angle of this 20 simple moving average just coming in right overhead like a missile to the back of our head there. It would just tip us over. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. However, as it is a bullish cross, I did suggest that we're likely to get a little bit of a pull up. We are getting a little bit of a pull up. Whether that results in continuation depends upon how many of these momentum levels that we can recapture. Of course, just to take some context here, we should take a look at the previous momentum pools. Of course, these are the new projections that I have here for today, as well as the next 2 to 5 days. You can see that the previous 2 to 5 day projection did suggest a hard line because it's not even a pool, it's just a flat box. It did suggest that we had to get over that 16,465 level, which is what I was saying in the video, and we did not. We did not get over that level. So what happened is that we just immediately kind of had that micro capitulation to the downside, having not secured that territory. Now, this was the 2 to 5 day projection before this one, so we can take a look at how shallow that momentum pool is. There's just a very big risk that even if we stuck our toe into the pool, that we could easily drown in it and just get buried alive. So again, like with this crucial level that I was suggesting we needed to hold on top of, and then also the shallowness of the pool, it was just highly likely that we were going to have a breakdown should we not again put a couple 4 hour candles above this white line here. Now I was leaning bullish when I made that video. Of course, none of these bearish candles had existed at the time. We were pushing upwards and we were over the momentum pools, but the reason why I make the pools, right, like I'm making a video and our candles right here, the reason I make the pools is so that you can figure out where we are down the line, right? So the alpha momentum scale that went along with this basically got hit on all of the key areas here. You can see we wicked right here, boom, like we tagged that bullish-ish level, right? We basically popped all the way. We actually had that breakdown right at the estimated neutral where we just saw that kind of capitulatory candle, on these smaller time frames. right at that dotted line. So guys, like there's no joking around with these alpha momentum pools. And then look, we even tagged the bearish-ish level almost precisely right to the dollar, like in a tag back. And look where we came down to. We came down to my solid bearish level. So all of these got tagged with high precision. And again, like if you were using the alpha momentum pool to just inform you of where maybe our bias is going to change into one direction or another, you would have been very well served by this. So let's go ahead and take off the past action. You can see that we are starting the day in our new momentum pool, which is quite good to see. We like to see that, as is the case usually, there's a little bit of an interplay when you're inside of the pool. So we could swim up and down within this region, and it could take a while before something really comes out of it. But if we put a couple bullish candles, 4-hour candles on top of this pool, there's a good chance that we can reach the top of the 2 to 5 day projection, and then basically get above that kind of critical level that we had set a couple days ago. And if we do that, then we should be able to continue on our way bullishly. And this was all just a fake out, like I was suggesting is possible, right? In this video here, watch out for the fake out. Based upon that Alpha 9 knockout. Of course, it was with the 21 and the 20 SMA. So, guys, this is what we're looking forward to if we can retain some of that momentum to the upside, which we do have this nice little structure. However, this is also a bit of a diamond, and if it's going to be a continuation pattern, then we could end up dropping further and filling out a little bit more of this naked candle here. You can see it's only about 20% filled. Usually we see these things get filled like 30%, 50%, and so that alone suggests that there's liquidity to be grabbed here, which could suggest another leg down before the real bounce comes. But we are bouncing right now. And one thing about this move that might shock some people is that it was predicted by the Alpha Fam, guys. So we are just killing it, and I'll show you. You guys may remember this structure that I had out here with the measured move to the downside. And again, like we formulated that somewhere in this area about the 22nd, so a solid, almost a week ago. We projected that we would end up tagging back at this $16,000 level at least. And look to the dollar precision. I did not move this dashed line at all. To the dollar precision over here, we did tag that $16,000 level. And, having tagged that, having fulfilled the measured move of this structure, now we are kind of free to continue to go upwards. And the only thing that I'm concerned about is that there is still a chunk of liquidity down here to be grabbed. And, whether market makers want to go for that or not, it just depends on how open the buyers are to pushing this chart upward. If the buyers don't step in, then obviously we're going to retest our range lows. Guys, anyway, that's really cool to see. Of course, now we're kind of putting in this type of a pattern, and so we will be breaking out of this yet another indecision indecision triangle. Should we break to the downside under here, under 16,000, or should we break above this kind of $16,600 area, which you can see is on top of my 2 to 5 day momentum pool over here, just coincidentally. So, like, guys, like, obviously this stuff is working. These levels are definitely making sense, and so we should be paying attention to that. Now, the updated key levels to watch based upon the alpha momentum scales, correspond over here, where just for this higher time frame bullishness, I'm really not going to be convinced unless we're above 18,855. I've set a new level here. Like maybe we could front run some of that if we are able to get above 17,700, just because our EMAs have come down so much that it's a little bit easier to capture them the longer that we go sideways and down. But to just to have a kind of medium time frame, not like the higher time frame, but just to have kind of a medium time frame, nice significant play, I would need to see us over 16,690, kind of take out this local high here. And for a solid bearish bias, I would expect us to lose 15,920. Then we're going to lose significant momentum, okay? And we're going to basically lose all of our momentum underneath 15,715, which could take us to, we might play around with these wicks. Sometimes we do that, or we are going to see that 14,000 downside. Just depends on how the volatility is playing. If we're just kind of contracting on volatility, these things can hold pretty well. If we're expanding on volatility, then sometimes we just push right through that stuff like a hot knife through butter, right? On a more kind of just a local kind of intraday trading level, then you can see my bullish-ish level, but watch out, is of course above 16,300, which is the top of the momentum pool. My bearish-ish level is of course under 16,200. And so if we do put in a couple of 4-hour candles underneath this area, I am going to be significantly biased to the downside, perhaps as low as 16,000. And if we do put a couple bullish candles above 16,300, then maybe we're going to get up here to 16,000, 400-ish, and then try to work our way out of this thing, and hopefully we don't get rejected again, right? Guys, that's what I have for you in terms of momentum. Let's go ahead and just to throw on some EMAs just to see what we look like right now. And you can see that based upon the 4-hour, we are getting into a nice, 4-9 squeeze here, being held down by the 9 on the 4-hour. So we could potentially get a pop to 16,355 if we're not rejected right here, right? I wouldn't really be concerned unless we're underneath 16,215 based upon this. If we do get above 16,300, and let's just say 70-ish, then we could be talking about perhaps even up to 16,500, or it's just going to become a little bit more tenuous. We got a couple of these 89s over here on the 4-hour. On the daily, my guess is that we're not looking as sharp. And yeah, on the daily, yeah, look, we really did conk our head on this 20 simple moving average, like I was showing you in the truth and advertising section. We just like bonked our head right on this moving average coming down here, and it just smacked us down. And we hit it so hard that we actually bounced the SMA up itself. So this is an interesting signal because we could end up, this thing could end up moving up and just pulling up the price action with it, sort of like over here, to be honest. And so we are going to have to watch. There is the potential for bullishness here. I know it doesn't look like it at the moment because we're underneath the 9, we're underneath the 4, but there is the potential for it. And it's just going to be really borderline right now. So, if we're over, let's just say 16,560, then that is going to be a good sign that we're capturing the 4, the 9, and then also the 20 simple moving average on the daily. And that could bring us up to 16,900, in which case we have some more work to do, right? So, a couple levels of work to do on the day, which could end up just being too tough, and the sellers might step in and just drop us down to these range lows again. But again, like we do have a chance to hold here, and I would say that's true based upon the 4-hour in particular with the volatility. As you can see, that volatility play that I was talking about in the last video, it does seem to be concluding. This does look like it wants to pinch off. It doesn't look like it wants to continue. So I'm not convinced that we're going to have a second drive down. If we end up getting a little formation like this, we could get just sideways action or a little bit of push to the upside. If we get a little bit of like this, we could just go to the upside. So we are looking for this to just And there we go. It's crossed closed, like live as I'm filming this, okay? And so probably this chart is going to go into a contraction, and contraction, since this was expanding price action to the downside, then contraction probably looks like a little bit of a thrust to the upside, okay? So just look forward to a little bit of upside action. And then let's go ahead and see what the daily looks like, because the daily hasn't really closed yet on its contraction, but we were primarily moving to the downside. And so if the daily does want to turn around and pop us up to the upside, that could be in the cards. Sorry about this, guys. It's just TradingView is being pretty slow. I have a fast bandwidth. It's just sometimes they do that. And yeah, you can see that the daily just isn't ready to make any type of decision. It is still contracting, and so it's very, very hard to see um, what that represents, to be honest. So we're gonna have to wait until this crosses over and then reaches around, at least 5%, preferably 10 to 15%, and then we'll know which direction the daily has chosen. Just suggesting there could be a little bit more work to be done in the charts. If we do look at the 2-day, however, that might show just a bit of a different picture, where the 2-day might have its own kind of perspective in terms of volatility. Again, volatility being direction neutral, it doesn't really pick a winner or loser, but you can see while the daily is getting poised to just pop up, the 2-day is actually getting poised to have a huge contraction. So let's say that the higher time frames are taking us to the downside and the 2-day just kind of like wants us to chill out, then this could be a contraction where price action actually moves to the upside. That's totally hypothetical. That's not a call that I'm making. It's just how volatility interplay on all these different time frames could work. Okay, so I'm a volatility trader, but it's like a wild beast. Okay, sometimes, so just be careful about that. We have to get our bias from other sources, and so we are going to have to check back with the momentum and the price action later on. But right now, that's what I would just kind of think, that probably we're going to pull up in price a bit, and maybe we could even carry forward for a few days to the upside, just pure hypothesis. And then perhaps the 5-day and the weekly would end up smacking us back down. Now, again, this is jumping the gun, so it really, really depends on how the daily ends up working out. The daily could bring us to our range low, and then that thing just plays out, because again, the daily isn't done contracting yet. So um, a little bit of a contradiction on the charts there, but yeah, you can see that we are popping up right now with that 4-hour closure that we just had. So the chart did like that. You can see we are popping above my bullish momentum. It seems like, it just seems like what I was talking about is working out. We are now having that squeeze that I was talking about, which could take us up to this area, and then perhaps we'll just do a quick check back or something, and then perhaps continue on with this little range that we have here before bumping our head on this triangle, and then trying to figure out, can we break out above this a solid bullish level. There might be some type of interplay there, or we just might get rejected in that 89 area and come back down, just not able to break this 2 to 5-day projection, and we work our way to the bottom as the 2-day volatility expands. So that's kind of your interpretation of the EMAs, as well as the volatility, momentum, the price action, which we did see the measured move of that rising wedge has now been fulfilled, and also the EMAs there. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap that up. Just let me turn off some of this and let you get a clear picture of the price levels that we're contending with. These are really the key levels that we're working with at the moment. And so you can just Take a look. Solid bullish over 16,690, bullish over 16,300. You do see that nice pop. Wish I could have had this video out in time for that, but you can see how I trade live, right? You can see that that would have been the play that I could have been taking there, and that would have been a long. Look at that. And just the alpha momentum pool. Look at this. It's just beautiful, right? And so 16,285 is going to be our neutral level. And then underneath 16,200, we are going to be bearish. Underneath 15,920, just a very solidly bearish. And then I would just worry about losing all of our momentum under 15,715. So do expect a check back to probably this bullish level or even the neutral, and then this chart will make a decision. You do see that we may have a little bit of a diagonal resistance right here. See if I can make that work out like that. You can see that we do have just a little bit of a diagonal resistance right there that does seem to run across this area right here off of that low, right there off of that wick, right there off of that wick. And so we could just end up putting in a little bit of a check back here before popping up. Hopefully you're able to catch that. All right, guys, that was your alpha for the day. Thank you for being fans. Thank you for being subscribers and following me. I'm not a perfect trader, but I'm trying to become better. And I think the Alpha Fam is doing a great job. We're just going to absolutely kill it in the next bull market. So that was your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.